Chapter 3. Weaponizing Corporate Policies and Contacting Richard's Wife. Day 8. I sat down at my laptop and crafted the most professionally devastating document I'd ever written. It was addressed to Meridian Financial Group's Ethics Hotline, Legal Department, CEO, and Board of Directors. Subject line: Formal complaint regarding ethics violations and abuse of supervisory authority. I laid it all out. Richard Castellano, VP of Client Relations, was engaged in a sexual relationship with Emma Cooper, Senior Account Manager, who reported directly to him. I cited specific violations of company policy. Section 4.7, Undisclosed Supervisor-Subordinate Relationship. Section 2.3, Misuse of Company Resources for Personal Benefit. And Section 6.1, Creation of a Hostile Work Environment through Abuse of Power. Then I attached the evidence. Audio recordings of them having sex in his office, edited to remove any background noise, crystal clear and undeniable. Photos time-stamped from the recording pen showing them together in compromising positions. Hotel receipts from company credit cards showing Richard booking rooms during business trips that Emma conveniently attended. And the kicker: a detailed timeline showing Emma's career advancement over the past 18 months, perfectly correlated with the affair's timeline. Emma had received 2 promotions, 3 major account assignments, and bonuses totaling $60,000, all after the affair started. Her performance reviews under Richard were glowing. Her performance reviews before Richard became her supervisor? Average at best. I made one thing crystal clear in my complaint. If Meridian failed to act, I would pursue legal action against the company for enabling a hostile work environment that destroyed my marriage. I'd sue for damages, and I'd make damn sure the press knew about it. A mid-sized investment firm can't afford that kind of scandal. I hit send at 9 a.m. Copies went to 6 different people, including Meridian's outside counsel. By noon, I'd received a response from their legal department requesting a meeting to discuss the matter further and ensure we have all relevant information. Boom. They were scared, and they should be, but Richard wasn't the only one who needed to face consequences. He had a wife at home who deserved to know what kind of man she was married to. Day 9, I found Diane Castellano on Facebook. Her profile was public. She was one of those people who posted constantly. Photos of her classroom, inspirational teacher quotes, church events, pictures of her 2 kids at college. She looked nice, normal, completely oblivious to the fact that her husband was screwing a woman young enough to be their daughter. I spent an hour crafting the message. How to get the tone right, respectful but direct, informative but not cruel. Mrs. Castellano, my name is Marcus Cooper. I'm very sorry to contact you this way, but I believe you deserve to know that your husband Richard has been having an affair with my wife Emma for at least 6 months. I have documented evidence, including recordings, photos, and messages. I'm not looking for drama. I'm filing for divorce and taking appropriate legal action, but I thought you should know the truth before he tries to control the narrative. I'm happy to share the evidence if you want it. Again, I'm very sorry you have to find out this way. I hit send and honestly didn't expect to hear back. These things are messy, and a lot of people don't want to know the truth. Diane responded in 45 minutes. Is this real? Do you actually have proof? I replied, yes, I can send you everything. I'm sorry. Send it. I created a Dropbox folder with edited versions of the evidence, enough to prove the affair without being gratuitously explicit. Audio clips of them discussing the relationship, photos from the recording pen, text messages, the timeline of Emma's promotions, hotel receipts, everything Diane needed to understand that this wasn't some misunderstanding or one-time mistake. This was a full-blown affair that had been going on for months. 20 minutes after I sent the link, my phone rang. Unknown Dallas number. Marcus? This is Diane Castellano. Her voice was shaking, but it wasn't weak. It was rage barely held in check. We talked for 90 minutes. She asked questions, How long had I known? What exactly had I found? Was I certain it was Richard? I answered everything honestly. Told her about the phone call, the recordings, the Chicago trip. She started crying about halfway through, but by the end of the call, she wasn't sad anymore. She was furious. He's been working late for a year, she said. All those client dinners, all those weekend strategy sessions. I supported him. I raised our kids alone while he built his precious career. And this is what he was doing. I'm sorry, I said. You deserved better than this. So did you. She paused. I'm filing for divorce. Tomorrow. And I'm taking everything. Good. And Marcus? Thank you for telling me. I know that couldn't have been easy. We're both victims of the same two people, I said. Seemed only fair we both knew the truth. Day 11, Diane filed for divorce. But she didn't just file, she went nuclear. She hired Jennifer Blackstone, one of the most aggressive divorce attorneys in Dallas. The kind of lawyer who doesn't settle, doesn't negotiate, and doesn't care about keeping things civil. Within hours of retaining Jennifer, Diane had frozen all of their joint bank accounts. Richard's access to their savings, checking, investment accounts, gone. She filed for exclusive use of their house in Highland Park. She demanded full disclosure of all his assets, including stock options, retirement accounts, and any offshore holdings. Richard came home from work that day to find the locks changed and divorce papers taped to the door. But Diane wasn't done. Day 12, she contacted an employment attorney about potential litigation against Meridian Financial Group. Her argument? The company had created and enabled a work environment that destroyed her marriage. Richard had used company resources, his office, company travel expense accounts, to facilitate an affair with a subordinate. Meridian either knew about it and ignored it or failed to properly supervise their executives. Either way, they were liable. Her attorney sent Meridian a letter indicating they were considering legal action. It was just a shot across the bow, but it was enough to make Meridian's legal team absolutely panic. Suddenly, Richard wasn't just dealing with an HR complaint from me. He was dealing with divorce papers, frozen bank accounts, and the threat of his wife suing his employer. His carefully constructed life, the executive image, the family man persona, the Highland Park House and country club membership was collapsing in real time. And he still had no idea I was the one who'd started the avalanche. By day 15, Emma came home looking stressed as hell. She'd been quiet all week, coming home late, spending hours on her phone, texting someone, probably Richard, trying to figure out what was happening. Richard's wife filed for divorce, she said, pouring herself a large glass of wine. It's all over the office. Apparently, she just showed up one day, changed the locks, froze everything. Nobody knows why. I looked up from my laptop, playing concerned. That's crazy. Did something happen? I don't know. Richard's been really weird this week. Distracted. And HR has been asking people questions about workplace relationships. The whole vibe at work is off. Sounds stressful, I said. I'm sure it'll blow over. Emma nodded, but she didn't look convinced. She looked scared, like she knew something bad was coming but couldn't see it yet. She had no idea that in 2 weeks, her entire world would implode, that the loving husband sitting across from her, offering sympathy and support, had orchestrated every single piece of the disaster heading her way. 15 days down. 15 days to go. And I was just getting started. Chapter 4. The Strategic Strike. HR complaints, legal filings, and simultaneous attacks. Day 16. Tuesday morning. The day I burned their world to the ground. I woke up at 5 a.m., kissed Jennifer goodbye, like I always did. She was still half asleep, had no idea this was the last morning she'd ever wake up in her house, and drove to a coffee shop across town. I wasn't going into the office. I had too much work to do. At exactly 8:30 a.m., I logged into the anonymous email account I'd created and sent 3 emails that would detonate like precision bombs. Email 1, TechBridge Solutions HR Department. Subject line: Formal ethics complaint, sexual harassment and fraud. I attached my 37-page complaint with all the evidence, text messages, emails, expense reports, audio transcripts, the timeline showing Jennifer's promotions correlating with the affair. Every policy violation documented in excruciating detail. Email 2. Texas Workforce Commission. Filing a formal complaint about workplace sexual harassment and abuse of power. Richard using his supervisory position to extract sexual favors in exchange for career advancement was textbook quid pro quo harassment, and the state takes that shit seriously. Email 3. The Project Management Institute, where Richard held his PMP certification. Professional ethics violation complaint, including evidence of fraud and abuse of power. They could revoke his certification, which would basically end his career in corporate management. 3 complaints, 3 different organizations, all filed simultaneously so Richard and Jennifer couldn't get ahead of any of them. I hit send on all 3, then closed my laptop and ordered another coffee. My hands were shaking, not from nerves, from adrenaline. This was it. 2 weeks of evidence gathering, planning, strategizing, all coming together in one coordinated strike. At 9:15 a.m., Patricia Morrison's office sent the process server to TechBridge Solutions with divorce papers for Jennifer Webb. At 9:45, Patricia called me. Marcus, the timing was perfect. Your wife was just called into an emergency meeting with HR when our guy showed up. He served her the papers in the conference room in front of HR and her boss. I felt a smile spread across my face. In front of Richard? Yep. The complaint must have hit their desk this morning. They pulled both of them in to discuss it, and boom. Your wife gets served with divorce papers citing adultery with Richard Chun, complete with a flash drive of evidence attached to the filing. How'd she react? According to our server, she went white as a ghost, started hyperventilating, and ran out of the conference room. Left Richard sitting there with HR staring at him. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. My phone started blowing up around 10 a.m. Jennifer calling, texting, calling again. I'd blocked her number that morning, but she started calling from other numbers, probably borrowed phones from coworkers. I didn't answer any of them. She tried emailing. Marcus, please call me. I can explain. This isn't what it looks like. I deleted it without responding. She showed up at our house around noon. I was watching from the coffee shop through our security cameras. I'd changed the locks that morning before she woke up. She stood on the porch, banging on the door, crying, screaming for me to let her in. I watched her break down on our doorstep through my phone and felt absolutely nothing. No sympathy, no guilt, just cold satisfaction. Around 2 p.m., I got a text from a former colleague who still worked at TechBridge, guy named Danny who'd always been cool with me at company events. Dude, what the hell is going on? Jennifer and Richard both got suspended today. Some kind of investigation. Rumor is they were sleeping together and using company money for it. Jennifer's losing her shit, telling everyone you're crazy and making stuff up. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I texted back, appreciate it, man. Not making anything up. Got evidence for days. The truth is gonna come out. Damn. Sorry, bro. That's rough. It is what it is. She made her choices. By 3 p.m., the investigation was in full swing. TechBridge had no choice. Once that complaint hit HR, with that level of documentation, they had 72 hours to launch a formal investigation or risk massive legal liability. They'd suspended both Richard and Jennifer pending the outcome, which in corporate speak usually means we're getting our ducks in a row to fire you without getting sued. I heard through the grapevine, Danny was keeping me updated, bless him, that Richard had lawyered up immediately, hired some expensive employment attorney to try to fight it. But there's no fighting evidence like what I'd provided. Text messages where he promised promotions for sex. Audio recordings of him coaching Jennifer on how to lie to me. Expense reports showing fraud. The guy was cooked and he knew it. Jennifer, tried a different approach around 5 p.m. She sent an email from her personal account, long and rambling, full of excuses and apologies and blame shifting. "Marcus, I know you're hurt and angry, but please let me explain. Richard manipulated me. He had power over my career, and I felt like I didn't have a choice. I made a terrible mistake, but it wasn't entirely my fault. He took advantage of me. I never meant to hurt you. I love you. We can fix this. Please don't do this. Please." I read it twice. The first time, I felt a flash of rage at the audacity. Now she was claiming to be a victim. Now Richard had taken advantage of her when just yesterday she was texting him about how much she loved sneaking around with him. The second time I read it, I just laughed. She was already trying to spin the narrative, play the victim card, blame Richard for everything. It wasn't going to work. I had 10 months of messages showing she was an enthusiastic, willing participant. Messages where she laughed about me. Messages where she bragged to friends about the affair. Audio of her giggling about how she wasn't a victim. I was. She was a cheater who got caught and was now facing consequences. I deleted the email and blocked her personal email address too. Day 16 ended with Jennifer locked out of our house, suspended from her job, served with divorce papers, and watching her entire life implode in real time. Richard was in the same boat, suspended, under investigation, wife filing for divorce, and facing potential criminal fraud charges. And me? I was sitting in a bar in Montrose, drinking a bourbon, feeling more at peace than I had in 2 weeks. The dominoes were falling exactly as I'd planned. 15 days ago, I discovered the affair. Today, I destroyed both of them with surgical precision. And I still had 14 days left to watch them burn. Patricia called me that evening with an update. Jennifer's attorney reached out, wants to negotiate the divorce settlement. I told him we're not negotiating anything. Your wife committed adultery, we have proof, and under Texas law, she's entitled to basically nothing. Good. Stick to that. He tried to claim she's the victim of workplace harassment. That Richard coerced her. I snorted. We have text messages where she calls him baby and brags to friends about the affair. That's not coercion. That's what I told him. He shut up pretty quick after that. What's the timeline looking like? If she doesn't contest, and trust me, she won't once her lawyer sees all the evidence, we can have the divorce finalized in about 3 weeks. You'll get the house, your retirement accounts, everything. She walks away with whatever she brought into the marriage, which from what I can tell, is basically nothing. Perfect. I hung up and ordered another bourbon. Around me, people were laughing, having normal Tuesday nights, living normal lives. Meanwhile, I just executed the most comprehensive revenge plan of my life, and it was working flawlessly. Jennifer sent one more text that night from yet another number I hadn't blocked. You're destroying my life over a mistake. I hope you're happy. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back my first and only response to her since this all started. Not a mistake. A choice. You made it every day for 10 months. Now you get to live with the consequences. Don't contact me again. Then I blocked that number too and went home to my house that she'd never step foot in again and slept better than I had in weeks. 14 days left. But honestly, the war was already won. Chapter 5. The Aftermath. Why fast revenge hit harder than long games. The remaining 14 days of my 30-day plan were basically a victory lap. By day 20, TechBridge Solutions had completed their internal investigation and terminated both Richard and Jennifer for cause. No severance packages, no unemployment benefits, no positive references. Just clean, immediate terminations with a note in their personnel files about ethics violations and fraud. Richard got hit even harder. The company didn't just fire him, they went nuclear. They issued a press release about terminating a senior executive for serious violations of company policy and fiduciary responsibility. They didn't name him specifically, but in Houston's corporate scene, word travels fast. Everyone in the industry knew within 48 hours that Richard Chun had been fired from TechBridge for sleeping with a subordinate and committing expense fraud. The Texas Workforce Commission launched their own investigation. The Project Management Institute suspended his certification pending review, and TechBridge's legal team sent Richard a demand letter requiring him to repay over $42,000 in fraudulent expenses within 60 days or face criminal prosecution. His career was over. Not just at TechBridge, everywhere. Nobody in corporate America touches executives who get fired for ethics violations. He was radioactive. Jennifer's situation was almost worse because she had less to fall back on. Richard at least had 25 years of career success and savings before this happened. Jennifer was 32 early in her career and now had a termination for fraud and policy violations on her record. She couldn't get hired anywhere. Not in Houston, not in Texas, not in sales period. She tried calling me 63 times in those final 2 weeks. Showed up at my office twice, security escorted her out both times. Sent emails from different accounts begging me to talk to her, to reconsider, to have mercy. I ignored every single attempt. The divorce was finalized on day 28. Patricia Morrison steamrolled Jennifer's bargain basement attorney so thoroughly it was almost sad to watch. Jennifer contested nothing because she couldn't. The evidence was overwhelming. I got the house, my retirement accounts, our savings, the cars, everything. Jennifer walked away with her student loan debt, her ruined career, and a suitcase full of clothes. Last I heard, she moved back to Oklahoma to live with her parents, 32 years old, divorced, fired for cause, blacklisted in her industry, broke. She occasionally sends me emails from fake accounts. The most recent was about 6 months ago, saying I destroyed her life over a mistake, and that I'm a psychopath who couldn't forgive. I never respond. But if I did, I'd tell her the truth. She destroyed her own life the moment she decided her boss was worth more than our marriage. I just made sure she faced consequences faster than she expected. That was 3 years ago. I'm sitting in my kitchen now, same house, different life, making breakfast for my wife, Sophie. We got married 8 months ago after dating for about 1.5 years. She's a second-grade teacher, kind and genuine, nothing like Jennifer. She knows the whole story. I told her everything on our 4th date because I figured if the revenge thing was going to scare her off, better to know early. That's intense, she'd said after I finished. Like really intense. I know. I became someone I didn't know I could be. But she deserved it. Sophie had reached across the table and squeezed my hand. People think forgiveness is always the answer. Sometimes consequences are the answer. We've been happy, genuinely happy. Sophie's patient with my baggage, doesn't take it personally when I get paranoid about her late nights at school or when I check her phone bill. We've got a solid prenup, separate finances, and I'm working through my trust issues with a therapist, but I'm not the same guy I was before I found out about Jennifer's affair. That version of Marcus Webb died on day 1. The man who replaced him is harder, colder, permanently suspicious. I see the world differently now. People's words mean nothing to me anymore. I watch their actions. I verify everything. I trust, but I also monitor. Sometimes I catch my reflection and see something in my eyes that wasn't there before. For 30 days, I was ruthless, calculating, merciless. I destroyed 2 people's lives without hesitation or remorse. That capacity for coldness is still in me, and while I'm grateful I had it when I needed it, I'm also aware it changed me fundamentally. Would I do it all again? Honestly? Yeah, absolutely. Here's what most people don't understand about revenge. Speed is everything. Those 30 days worked because Jennifer and Richard never had time to mount a defense. They never coordinated their stories, never prepared for battle, never saw it coming until it was already over. By the time they realized they were under attack, they'd already lost everything. People who drag out revenge, who spend months or years planning elaborate schemes, give their targets time to adapt, time to hide evidence, time to manipulate the narrative, time to garner sympathy. I didn't give Jennifer and Richard any of those luxuries. I went cold and clinical immediately. I researched laws. I documented everything. I built airtight cases. And I struck when I had everything I needed to obliterate them completely. Most people can't do that. They need to process their emotions first. They need to cry, to rage, to confront. By the time they're ready to act strategically, the evidence is gone and the cheaters have covered their tracks. My advice to anyone facing what I faced: document everything first, feel your feelings later. Get the evidence while it's fresh. Protect your assets before they know you know. Build your cases in silence. Then strike hard, fast, and everywhere simultaneously so they can't defend themselves. Don't give them time to prepare. Don't warn them. Don't confront them until you have everything you need to destroy them completely. I showed Jennifer and Richard no mercy because they showed me none when they laughed about me in those text messages. They made me a joke, a fool, an obstacle to navigate around. So I made them cautionary tales. 3 years later, Richard's working some mid-level management job in a different industry for half the salary he used to make. Still paying off the debt to TechBridge. Still divorced. Career permanently stained. Jennifer's situation hasn't improved much according to mutual friends. She finally found work doing inside sales for some small company in Tulsa, making maybe 40 grand a year. Still lives with her parents. Still bitter about how everything went down. And me? I'm here in my house with my wife who actually respects me, living a good life. The anger is gone. The hurt is gone. All that's left is the lesson. Actions have consequences, and sometimes those consequences come faster and harder than you ever imagined. I didn't just win the divorce. I won completely, thoroughly, permanently. And I did it in 30 days using nothing but evidence, strategy, and their own arrogance against them. So here's my final word to you. If you're facing betrayal right now, if you just discovered your partner is cheating, you have a choice to make. You can waste time confronting, crying, trying to understand why they did it. Or you can go cold, gather your evidence, and hit them so fast and so hard they never see it coming. Fast revenge hits harder because they never have time to brace for impact. It worked for me, and it can work for you too. Choose wisely. And if you choose war, make damn sure you win. So that's the story. 30 days from discovery to total destruction. Richard Chun went from VP of sales to unemployed and unhireable, facing potential criminal charges for fraud, divorced, and publicly humiliated in our industry. Jennifer went from rising star to broke, jobless, and living with her parents, unable to get a reference anywhere in our field. And me? I walked away with everything: the house, the money, my reputation intact, and the satisfaction of knowing I executed perfect revenge without breaking a single law. 3 years later, I'm happily remarried, financially stable, and at peace. But here's what I learned that I want you to understand. Revenge doesn't have to take years. It just has to be strategic. Document everything. Know the laws. Identify every policy violation, every ethics breach, every lie they've told. Then strike fast, strike hard, and strike everywhere simultaneously so they can't defend themselves. Don't give them time to prepare. Don't warn them. Don't confront them until you have everything you need to destroy them completely. I gave Jennifer and Richard no mercy because they showed me none when they laughed about me in those text messages. So here's my challenge to you, listener. If you're facing betrayal right now, what are you going to do? Are you going to waste time crying and confronting, giving them the chance to cover their tracks? Or are you going to go cold, gather your evidence, and hit them so fast they never see it coming? The choice is yours. But I can tell you from experience, 30 days of calculated revenge beats years of dragging it out. Fast revenge hits harder because they never see it coming until it's too late. Choose wisely. And if you choose war, make sure you win completely. I did.